The silence in the Pentagon Situation Room was deafening after the Valdari transmission ended. President Hayes sat back in his chair and rubbed his temples. Around the table, world leaders on video screens looked shocked and frightened. Everyone had heard the same thing, but no one wanted to believe it. Kate Morrison broke the silence first. "So they admit it," she said quietly. "They destroy civilizations that refuse their protection." Dr. Lisa Carter was frantically typing on her computer. She was pulling up every piece of data Earth had about the Proxima Centauri and Wolf 359 systems. The evidence was overwhelming. Both systems showed signs of complete planetary destruction, exactly when the Valdari claimed those civilizations had been eliminated. General Bennett stood up and walked to the large display screen. He brought up tactical information about the alien ships currently hovering over Earth cities. 300 vessels, he said grimly, each one more advanced than anything we have. If they decide to attack us, we would not last long. But Hayes was thinking about more than just military strength. "The real question is whether we can live with their version of protection," he said. "From what we just learned, it means giving up everything that makes us human." Lisa looked up from her computer screen. "I have been analyzing the data from their so-called protected world," she said. "The pattern is clear. Every civilization that accepts Valdari protection loses its independence within 50 years. They become completely dependent on alien technology and guidance." "What exactly does that mean?" Kate asked. Lisa switched the display to show images from the protected worlds. "Look at these cities," she said. "They are all identical. Same buildings, same layouts, same everything. Now look at this." The screen showed historical images of those same worlds before the Valdari arrived. The difference was shocking. Each world had once been unique with its own architecture, culture, and way of life. All of that was gone now, replaced by sterile uniform cities. "They do not just protect these worlds," Lisa continued. "They completely reshape them. The original inhabitants are still alive, but they live exactly how the Valdari want them to live." Hayes studied the images carefully. "So protection means becoming prisoners in our own world," he said. "Worse than that," General Bennett replied. "It means becoming copies of every other protected civilization. Earth would lose everything that makes it special." The video conference screen lit up as leaders from other countries began to speak. The Prime Minister of Britain was first. "This is clearly not the kind of protection we want," she said. "But do we really have a choice? Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." The President of France nodded in agreement. "If we refuse, they will destroy us like they did to the others. At least under their protection, humanity would survive even if we lose our freedom." Kate felt anger rising in her chest. "Survival without freedom is not really survival," she said firmly. "It is just another form of death." Dr. Carter agreed. "Based on what I have seen, their protected civilizations are not really alive anymore," she said. "They exist, but they do not grow or change or create anything new. They are frozen in whatever state the Valdari consider acceptable." The Russian president spoke up from his video screen. "Easy words to say," he said with a heavy accent. "But when the choice is between slavery and extinction, what rational person chooses extinction?" Hayes looked around the room at his advisors. "That is the question we have to answer," he said. "Is freedom worth dying for?" General Bennett pulled up a new display showing Earth military capabilities compared to Valdari technology. The comparison was depressing. Human weapons were like stones thrown at tanks. Earth had nuclear weapons, but the alien ships had energy shields that could probably stop anything humans could throw at them. However, Kate noticed something in the tactical data that gave her hope. The Valdari ships were positioned in standard formation over each major city. They were following the same pattern they had used at other worlds. That suggests they are confident, maybe overconfident. Lisa was thinking along the same lines. "They have been doing this for thousands of years," she said. "They probably expect us to either surrender immediately or put up a brief, conventional resistance before being overwhelmed." "What if we do something they do not expect?" Kate asked, like what Hayes replied. Kate studied the ship positions more carefully. "They are spread out over dozens of cities," she said. "That gives them good coverage, but it also divides their forces. What if instead of trying to fight all of them at once, we use guerrilla tactics?" General Bennett raised an eyebrow. "Guerrilla tactics against starships?" he asked skeptically. "Not against the ships directly," Kate explained. "Against their expectations. They are used to civilizations that fight conventionally or surrender quickly. What if we disappear instead? Dr. Carter understood immediately. You mean go underground, she said. Hide our population and infrastructure, then strike from unexpected directions. Exactly, Kate replied. They want to rule Earth, but they cannot rule what they cannot find. Hayes was beginning to see the possibilities. It would mean abandoning our cities and infrastructure, he said. Millions of people would have to go into hiding. The alternative is worse, General Bennett said. Under Valdari protection, those same millions would lose their humanity anyway. Lisa was already working on calculations. We have extensive underground facilities, she said. Military bunkers, mining networks, subway systems. With some quick modifications, we could hide a significant portion of the population. But for how long, the British Prime Minister asked. We cannot stay underground forever, long enough to figure out their weaknesses, Kate replied. Every technology has vulnerabilities. We just need time to find them. The French president shook his head. This is madness, he said. You're talking about fighting beings who have conquered 17 civilizations. No, Lisa said firmly. They have not conquered 17 civilizations. They have absorbed them. There is a difference. Conquest implies resistance. What they did was more like assimilation. Hayes was beginning to understand. You think they have never faced real resistance before, he said. That is exactly what I think, Lisa replied. Look at their tactics. They make the same offer to every world. Most civilizations probably accept immediately when they see the alien technology. The few that refuse are quickly destroyed by overwhelming force. But what if a civilization refuses and then disappears, Kate added. What if there is no obvious target for their overwhelming force? General Bennett was studying ship deployment patterns. It could work, he said slowly. Their positioning assumes we will either surrender or meet them in direct combat. They are not prepared for asymmetric warfare. The idea was crazy, but it might be the only chance Earth had. Instead of accepting slavery or fighting a hopeless conventional war, humanity would try something completely different. Hayes made the decision that would change everything. We are going to need a plan, he said. A detailed plan for evacuating major population centers and continuing resistance from hidden positions. Over the next several hours, they worked frantically. Military experts calculated how many people could be moved to underground facilities. Scientists studied Valdari technology looking for potential weaknesses. Engineers designed ways to hide critical infrastructure. Dr. Carter made a crucial discovery while analyzing the alien energy signatures. Their shields are incredibly strong, she said, but they seem to be designed primarily to stop energy weapons and large kinetic projectiles. I am not sure how they would handle swarms of smaller objects, like what Kate asked. Like modified asteroids or debris clouds, Lisa replied. Or thousands of small craft attacking simultaneously from different directions. General Bennett smiled grimly. Quantity over quality, he said. We may not have their advanced technology, but we have numbers and creativity. As the planning, continued, Kate felt something she had not expected. Hope. Not hope for easy victory, but hope that humanity might have a chance. The Valdari were powerful, but they were also predictable. They had been using the same methods for thousands of years. Humans, on the other hand, were unpredictable. Earth was full of people who had spent centuries finding new ways to fight against superior forces. Guerrilla warfare was a human specialty. Hayes called for a final vote among world leaders. The choice was simple but terrible. Accept Valdari protection and lose human independence forever, or refuse and fight a war that would probably end in extinction. One by one, the leaders cast their votes. Some voted for protection, believing survival was more important than freedom. Others voted for resistance, believing freedom was worth any price. In the end, the vote was close but clear. Earth would refuse the Valdari offer. Hayes looked directly into the camera that would transmit their answer to the alien ships. We have made our decision, he said calmly. Thank you for your offer, but Earth declines your protection. The response came quickly. The Valdari representative appeared on screen looking angry for the first time. You are making a terrible mistake, it said. Without our protection, you will be destroyed within days. Maybe, Hayes replied. But we will be destroyed as free humans, not as Valdari pets. The alien's image flickered with what could only be described as rage. You have chosen extinction, it said coldly. Our fleet will arrive within 48 hours. Use that time to prepare your souls for death. The transmission ended and the room was quiet again. Everyone knew what was coming. 3 days passed since the aliens first appeared over Earth. During those days, people around the world watched the news constantly. The crystal ships had not moved from their positions above the major cities. They just hung there in the sky like silent watchers. Kate Morrison had barely slept during those 3 days. She spent most of her time in the Pentagon Situation Room, studying everything they could learn about the Valdari. The aliens had been patient and answered many questions from world leaders. They showed pictures of the worlds they protected. They explained their technology in simple terms. They promised that life on Earth would be better under their protection. But Kate was not convinced. Something about the whole situation felt wrong to her. She could not put her finger on exactly what it was, but her instincts told her to be careful. Dr. Lisa Carter felt the same way. She had been working almost non-stop analyzing every piece of information the Valdari had shared. Late on the third night, she found something that made her stomach turn cold. "Kate," she called quietly from across the Situation Room. "You need to see this." Kate walked over to Lisa's computer station. The screen showed pictures of the 17 worlds the Valdari claimed to protect. At first glance, they looked wonderful. Beautiful cities with tall, clean buildings, people walking through parks and shopping areas. Everyone looked healthy and happy. "Look closer," Lisa said, pointing at the screen. "What do you see?" Kate studied the images more carefully. Slowly, she began to notice patterns. The buildings in every city looked very similar. The clothes people wore were almost identical across different worlds. Even the expressions on people's faces seemed the same. "They all look like copies of each other," Kate said quietly. "Exactly," Lisa replied. "I have been studying these images for hours. Every protected world shows the same architectural style, the same urban planning, the same social structures. It's like they took 17 different civilizations and made them all identical." Kate felt her heart racing. That was what had been bothering her about the Valdari offer. They spoke about peace and prosperity but never mentioned diversity or independence. Lisa switched to another screen. "This is even more troubling," she said. "I asked the Valdari to show us historical records from their protected worlds. Pictures from before they arrived compared to now. The new images showed the same 17 worlds but from centuries earlier." Kate gasped when she saw them. Each world had looked completely different before the Valdari arrived. One had floating cities above purple oceans. Another had underground civilizations living in crystal caves. A third had massive tree cities that stretched into the clouds. All of that unique architecture was gone now, replaced by the same standard buildings they had seen in the current pictures. "Where did their original cultures go?" Kate asked. "That is exactly what I want to know," Lisa replied. "The Valdari say these worlds are protected and prosperous, but they look like they have been completely transformed. All their individual characteristics have been erased." Kate stared at the images for a long time. She thought about what it would mean for Earth to accept Valdari protection. Would humans eventually lose everything that made them unique? Would Earth cities all start to look the same? Would human culture disappear and be replaced by whatever the Valdari considered proper? The next morning, President Hayes called another meeting with world leaders. Representatives from dozens of countries joined by video conference. The Valdari had requested a final answer to their offer of protection. Hayes sat at the head of the conference table with his advisors around him. Kate and Lisa were both present, along with General Bennett and other military leaders. The tension in the room was thick. The Valdari representative appeared on the main screen. It looked exactly the same as before with its silver skin and calm expression. "We hope you have had sufficient time to consider our offer," it said. "We are eager to begin protecting Earth from the dangers of the galaxy." Hayes nodded politely. "We appreciate your patience," he said. "Before we give our final answer, my team has prepared some questions." "Of course," the alien replied. "We are happy to address any concerns." Lisa stood up from her chair. She had been chosen to ask the most important questions because of her scientific background. Dr. Carter stepped forward to the microphone. "We have studied the information you provided about your protected worlds," she began. "They are indeed beautiful and peaceful as you described." The Valdari nodded approvingly. "However," Lisa continued, "we noticed some interesting patterns. All 17 worlds show remarkably similar development. Same architectural styles, same social structures, same urban planning. We were wondering what happened to their original cultures." The alien's expression did not change, but Kate thought she saw something flicker in its dark eyes. "Civilizations naturally evolve toward optimal forms when given proper guidance," the Valdari replied. "What you call culture is often simply inefficiency. We help worlds reach their full potential by eliminating wasteful diversity. Kate felt her blood run cold. The alien had just admitted that they erased the unique aspects of every civilization they protected. Lisa pressed on. We also noticed that none of your protected worlds seem to have developed space travel technology. They all depend entirely on your ships for transportation between planets. Is there a reason for this? The Valdari paused before answering. Space travel requires careful regulation, it said. Uncontrolled expansion leads to conflict and chaos. We manage all interstellar transportation to ensure peace and stability. So the protected worlds cannot leave their planets without your permission? Kate asked. They have no need to leave, the alien replied. We provide everything they require. General Bennett leaned forward. That sounds more like imprisonment than protection, he said bluntly. The Valdari's expression became slightly less friendly. We have thousands of years of experience in galactic affairs, it said. Young civilizations often make poor decisions when left to their own devices. Guidance is necessary for their own good. Lisa looked around the room at the other humans. She could see that many of them were beginning to understand what Valdari protection really meant. It was not a partnership. It was not even a benevolent dictatorship. It was complete control disguised as help. We have one more question, Lisa said. Her voice was steady, but Kate could hear the tension underneath. In all your travels across the galaxy, offering protection to civilizations, you must have encountered some that declined your offer. What happened to those worlds? The room became completely silent. Everyone stared at the screen waiting for the alien's answer. This was the question that would tell them everything they needed to know about the Valdari. The alien was quiet for a long moment. Its silver skin seemed to shimmer slightly, as if it was thinking carefully about how to respond. Some civilizations have indeed chosen to remain unprotected, it finally said. Sadly, most of them have not survived the dangers of the galaxy. The universe is harsh to those who refuse proper guidance. That is not what we asked, Lisa said firmly. We asked specifically which civilizations said no to your offer, and what exactly happened to them. The Valdari's expression hardened slightly. The Keth people of Proxima Centauri were destroyed by space pirates, it said. The Zalani of Wolf 359 destroyed themselves in civil wars. The pattern is always the same for worlds that refuse our protection. General Bennett was typing quickly on his tablet. He looked up with a grim expression. Our telescopes have been monitoring both of those systems for decades, he said. Wolf 359 shows clear evidence of orbital bombardment exactly 300 years ago. The energy signatures match what we have observed from your ships. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Kate felt like ice water was flowing through her veins, and Proxima Centauri Lisa added consulting her own data shows radiation patterns consistent with systematic surface bombardment. Also 300 years ago, the Valdari representative no longer looked calm and friendly. Its expression had become cold and calculating. You destroyed them, Kate said. It was not a question. We offered them the same gift we offer you, the alien replied. Its voice had lost all warmth. They chose chaos over order. They chose conflict over peace. They forced us to take action to prevent their destructive influence from spreading to other worlds. So there really is no choice, Lisa said quietly. Accept your protection or be destroyed. There is always a choice, the Valdari said. Choose wisely. The screen went black and the alien was gone. The room remained silent for several minutes as everyone processed what they had just learned. President Hayes was the first to speak. Well, he said quietly, I think we have our answer about what Valdari protection really means. Kate looked around the room at the faces of world leaders and military officials. Fear was written on every face, but she also saw something else. Determination. The same look she had seen on the faces of soldiers before difficult battles. They give us a simple choice, General Bennett said. Become slaves or die fighting. Lisa was already pulling up data about Earth's military capabilities. If we refuse their offer, she said they will try to destroy us just like they did to the others. Hayes nodded grimly. Then we better start preparing for war. Kate stared at the blank screen where the Valdari representative had been. In trying to offer Earth protection, the aliens had revealed their true nature. They were not guardians. They were conquerors who destroyed anyone who refused to submit. The morning sun was bright over New York City when people first saw the ship. It was huge and made of something that looked like crystal. The ship hung in the sky above the tallest buildings and did not move. People on the street stopped walking and pointed up at it. Cars stopped in the middle of roads. Everyone wanted to know what it was. Kate Morrison was eating breakfast in her apartment when her phone rang. She was an admiral in the Navy and had been expecting a quiet day. The voice on the phone was her assistant, and he sounded scared. "Kate, you need to get to the Pentagon right now," he said. "There are alien ships over every major city in the world." Kate grabbed her uniform and ran to her car. As she drove through the streets of Washington, she could see people everywhere looking up at the sky. Some were taking pictures with their phones. Others were running to their cars. The radio was full of news reports about the ships. No one knew what they wanted. At the Pentagon, Kate found chaos. Military officers were running between rooms. Phone calls were happening everywhere. She went straight to the Situation Room where she found President Jonathan Hayes and his team. The president looked tired even though it was still morning. General Paul Bennett was standing near a big screen that showed a map of the world. Red dots marked where the alien ships were located. There were dozens of them. London had one. Tokyo had one. Moscow had one. Every important city on Earth had at least one ship hanging over it. "We have tried to contact them," Hayes said to Kate as she entered the room. "They have not responded to any of our signals. We do not know if they are friendly or hostile. We do not even know if they can understand us." Dr. Lisa Carter was sitting at a computer terminal typing quickly. She was the president's chief science advisor and one of the smartest people Kate knew. Lisa looked up from her screen and shook her head. "I am reading energy signatures unlike anything we have ever seen," she said. "These ships are more advanced than anything we could build in the next 100 years. Just then, all the screens in the room changed. Instead of showing maps and data, they now showed the face of something that was clearly not human. The being had silver skin that seemed to shine with its own light. Its eyes were large and dark blue. When it spoke, its voice was calm and musical. "Greetings, people of Earth," the alien said. "We are the Valdari Collective. We have watched your world for many years. We have come to help you." The room fell silent. No one moved. No one even seemed to breathe. Kate felt her heart beating fast in her chest. This was really happening. Aliens were real and they were talking to Earth. Hayes was the first to speak. "Who are you and what do you want from us?" he asked. His voice was steady, but Kate could see his hands shaking slightly. "We are guardians," the alien replied. "We protect young civilizations across this galaxy. We have done this for thousands of years. We offer our protection to Earth." Protection from what General Bennett asked. He had moved closer to the screen and was studying the alien's face carefully. "The universe is dangerous," the Valdari said. "There are forces that destroy young worlds like yours. Pirates who steal resources. Warlords who enslave populations. Ancient machines that consume everything in their path. Without protection, most civilizations do not survive their first 1,000 years. Dr. Carter leaned forward in her chair. "What would this protection involve?" she asked. Her voice was curious, but Kate could hear something else in it. Suspicion, maybe. "We would place defense stations around your planet," the alien explained. "Our fleets would patrol your solar system. We would share some of our technology to help improve your lives. Most importantly, we would guide your development to ensure peace and stability." Kate felt a chill run down her spine. Something about the way the alien said guide made her uncomfortable. She looked around the room and saw similar expressions on other faces. "What would you want in return?" Hayes asked. "Only cooperation," the Valdari said. "We would ask that Earth join our collective. You would keep your governments and your cultures, but you would follow our guidance on important matters. Wars would end. Poverty would end. Disease would end. All we ask is that you trust us." The alien paused and seemed to look directly at each person in the room. "We have protected 17 civilizations in this galaxy," it continued. "All of them now live in peace and prosperity. Their people are happy and safe. We offer the same to Earth." Hayes looked around the room at his advisors. Kate could see he was thinking hard about the offer. On one hand, it sounded amazing. No more wars, no more suffering. Technology beyond their wildest dreams. On the other hand, something felt wrong about it. "How long do we have to decide?" Kate asked. The Valdari smiled, and Kate noticed that its teeth were perfectly white and straight. "You may take as long as you need," it said. "We are patient. But remember that every day you delay is another day your people remain vulnerable to the dangers of space." The screen went black and the alien was gone. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then everyone started talking at once. Some people thought the offer was amazing. Others were worried about what protection really meant. Kate was in the second group. She walked over to Dr. Carter, who was already pulling up data on her computer. "What do you think, Lisa?" she asked quietly. Lisa looked around to make sure no one else was listening. "Something is not right," she whispered. "Did you notice how the alien spoke about the other civilizations it protects? It said they live in peace and prosperity, but it did not say anything about their freedom." Kate nodded. She had noticed the same thing. The Valdari had promised peace and safety, but had said nothing about independence or choice. Over the next few hours, reports came in from around the world. The aliens had made the same offer to every government on Earth. The message was always the same. Join us and be safe. Trust us and be protected. But always with that word guidance that made Kate uncomfortable. As the day went on, Kate found herself thinking more and more about what the alien had really offered. It sounded wonderful on the surface, but there were too many questions without answers. What happened to civilizations that said no? How much guidance was too much guidance? And most importantly, what did the Valdari really want from Earth? The president called for a meeting of world leaders to discuss the offer. Representatives from every major nation would gather to decide Earth's future. Kate knew that whatever they decided would change everything for every person on the planet. She looked out the window at the crystal ship hanging in the sky above Washington. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Inside that ship were beings with technology that could solve every problem humanity faced. But Kate could not shake the feeling that accepting their help might create problems that were much worse. The aliens said they were guardians, but Kate wondered if they might be something else entirely. The next few days would determine whether Earth remained free or became another protected world in the Valdari Collective. Kate just hoped they would make the right choice. 6 months had passed since the Valdari fleet first arrived at Earth, and the war was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. What should have been a quick conquest had turned into a grinding battle of attrition that tested both sides to their limits. Kate Morrison stood in the command bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains watching displays that showed the current state of the conflict. The situation was grim but not hopeless. Earth had lost over half of its improvised fleet in the opening battles, but the Valdari had also taken significant damage. More importantly, the aliens were beginning to show signs of frustration and uncertainty. Dr. Lisa Carter had been analyzing captured Valdari technology for months, trying to understand their weaknesses. The breakthrough came when Commander Jake Phillips managed to disable and board a damaged alien scout ship. The technology they recovered was centuries ahead of anything human, but it was also designed with certain assumptions that proved to be vulnerabilities. The Valdari shields are incredibly powerful, Lisa explained to the assembled military leaders, but they are optimized for stopping energy weapons and large projectiles. They have trouble with swarms of small objects or attacks that change direction rapidly. This discovery led to the development of new tactics that played to human strengths. Instead of trying to match Valdari technology, Earth forces began using creativity and unpredictability as weapons. Human ships would separate into clouds of smaller craft just before impact. Missiles would split into dozens of submunitions. Even simple space debris was turned into weapons by accelerating it to high velocities. General Bennett had taken charge of overall military strategy, and his approach was pure human stubbornness. Every time the Valdari adapted to one tactic, humans would switch to something completely different. When the aliens learned to defend against kinetic impactors, Earth forces started using gravity wells to bend attack trajectories. When they countered that, humans began launching attacks from inside asteroid fields where sensors could not track individual targets. But the real key to human survival was something the Valdari had never encountered before in their thousands of years of conquest. Instead of centralizing their resistance in a few major strongholds, humans had scattered across the entire solar system. There was no single target the aliens could destroy to end the war. Commander Phillips now operated from a mobile base hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. His forces consisted of converted mining equipment, jury-rigged exploration vessels, and anything else that could be fitted with weapons or used as a projectile. It was not an impressive fleet by conventional standards, but it was impossible for the Valdari to completely eliminate. The aliens had tried everything they could think of to end the resistance. They bombarded Earth hoping to force a surrender, but found only empty cities. They hunted human ships throughout the solar system, but could never catch all of them. They even tried negotiating, again offering better terms for surrender, but received the same response as before. President Hayes had relocated to a bunker complex beneath the Swiss Alps, where he continued coordinating the global resistance effort. Despite the enormous cost in lives and resources, human morale remained surprisingly high. People understood what they were fighting for, and were willing to pay almost any price to preserve their freedom. The turning point came when Dr. Carter made a crucial discovery about Valdari psychology. By studying intercepted communications and observing their behavior patterns, she realized that the aliens were not just frustrated by human resistance, they were genuinely confused by it. They have been conquering civilizations for thousands of years, Lisa explained during a strategy meeting, but they have never faced anything like this. Every other species either surrendered immediately or was quickly overwhelmed. The Valdari do not understand how to fight a war of attrition against an enemy that refuses to give up. Kate realized the implications immediately. They are not just losing ships and equipment, she said. They are losing confidence in their entire system. This insight led to a new phase of the war focused on psychological pressure rather than pure destruction. Human forces began targeting Valdari supply lines and communication networks. They staged raids that seemed impossible, then disappeared before the aliens could respond. Most importantly, they made sure the Valdari understood that Earth would never surrender no matter how long the war lasted. The aliens tried to counter this by bringing in reinforcements from their other territories, but this created new problems. Moving ships away from their protected worlds left those civilizations vulnerable. Some of the supposedly pacified species began showing signs of unrest when they realized the mighty Valdari could be resisted. Commander Phillips received reports that rebellions had broken out on 3 different worlds under Valdari protection. The aliens were forced to divert resources to suppress these uprisings, which weakened their forces at Earth even further. After 6 months of grinding warfare, the Valdari fleet was reduced from 300 ships to less than 50. They were still technologically superior, but they had lost their overwhelming numerical advantage. More importantly, they had lost something even more valuable: their reputation for invincibility. The final phase of the war began when Kate proposed the most audacious plan yet. Instead of continuing to fight defensively, human forces would go on the offensive. They would attack the remaining Valdari ships directly, using everything they had learned about alien weaknesses. General Bennett was skeptical at first. "We have been successful because we avoid direct confrontation," he pointed out. "Going head-to-head with their remaining ships is exactly what they want us to do." But Lisa had a different perspective. "They are demoralized and running low on supplies," she argued. "This might be our only chance to finish them before they receive reinforcements from home." The attack was planned carefully, using every lesson learned from 6 months of warfare. Human ships would approach from multiple directions, using asteroid fields and debris clouds for cover. They would split into smaller groups just before contact to overwhelm point defense systems. Most importantly, they would focus on disabling rather than destroying alien vessels whenever possible. Commander Phillips led the main assault force, consisting of over 2,000 small craft hidden throughout the outer solar system. It was the largest single operation of the war, and possibly the last chance Earth would have to achieve victory. The battle began at dawn Earth time, though sunrise had no meaning in the darkness between planets. Human ships emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system, converging on the remaining Valdari fleet like a closing fist. The aliens fought with desperate skill, but they were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Their advanced weapons could destroy individual human ships easily, but there were too many targets attacking from too many directions. Within hours, the disciplined Valdari formation had dissolved into chaos. Kate watched the battle unfold from her command center, feeling a mixture of pride and sadness. Humanity was winning, but the cost had been enormous. Millions of people had died, and Earth itself was scarred by orbital bombardment. The victory would come at a price that would take generations to fully understand. The end came suddenly when the Valdari fleet commander transmitted a message on all frequencies. "We surrender," it said in a voice that held no trace of the musical harmony humans had first heard months ago. "We request safe passage out of your system." President Hayes responded personally to the surrender offer. "Your request is granted," he said simply, "but understand that Earth is now under human protection. Any future attempts at conquest will be met with the same resistance you have encountered." The The surviving Valdari ships began leaving the solar system within hours. As they departed, they transmitted one final message that would change the balance of power throughout the galaxy. Your resistance has been noted by all civilizations under our protection, the alien commander said. The age of Valdari dominance is ending. What you have begun here will spread to every world we once controlled. Kate stood at the observation deck of the rebuilt space station, watching the last alien ship disappear into the darkness. Earth had survived, but more than that, it had inspired others to fight for their own freedom. Dr. Carter joined her carrying a data pad full of messages from across the galaxy. 17 different worlds had declared independence from Valdari protection in the past month, she reported. They all want to know how we did it. Kate smiled as she looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere among them, other civilizations were learning to ask the same question that had started everything. Which one said no? And now there was an answer that would echo across the galaxy. Humanity said no and made it stick. 5 years later, Earth hosted the first Galactic Council meeting in over 1,000 years. Representatives from dozens of free worlds gathered to form an alliance based on cooperation, rather than domination. Dr. Carter addressed the assembly with words that would become the foundation of a new galactic order. We offer not protection, but partnership, she said. Not guidance, but cooperation. Not unity through conformity, but strength through diversity. When the session ended, a delegate from a recently liberated world asked the question that would define the new age. What if we say no to you too? 48 hours was not much time to prepare for the end of the world, but humanity had never been better at working under pressure. Within minutes of the Valdari ultimatum, emergency broadcasts went out across every television and radio station on Earth. The message was simple and terrifying. Alien invasion was coming and everyone needed to get to safety immediately. Kate Morrison stood in the command center deep beneath NORAD Mountain, watching dozens of screens that showed evacuation efforts around the world. Major cities were emptying as millions of people moved toward underground shelters that had been prepared in record time. It was the largest movement of human population in history, and it was happening in less than 2 days. Dr. Lisa Carter sat at a nearby console coordinating with observatories and space agencies worldwide. Every telescope on Earth was now focused on tracking the incoming Valdari fleet. The aliens had not been bluffing about their response time. 300 warships were already crossing the outer solar system, heading directly for Earth. They will be here in exactly 36 hours, Lisa reported. The fleet is massive, Kate. Each ship is the size of a city, and they are armed with weapons we can barely understand. Kate nodded grimly, but she was not looking at the alien ships. Instead, she was watching feeds from around Earth, showing the evacuation in progress. In New York, subway tunnels were being converted into temporary living spaces. In London, people were moving into the underground stations. Similar scenes were playing out in every major city. How many people have we moved? General Bennett asked as he joined them at the command center. About 60% of urban populations are now in underground facilities, Kate replied. The rest are heading for rural areas where they can scatter and hide. It is not perfect, but it is better than leaving everyone exposed in the cities. Dr. Carter had been working on something else during the evacuation. She had teams of engineers and scientists at facilities around the world working frantically to prepare for the battle ahead. The plan was simple in concept, but incredibly complex to execute. What is the status of Operation Hornet? Kate asked. Lisa smiled for the first time in days. Better than expected, she said. We have over 10,000 small craft ready for deployment. Modified mining ships, exploration probes, cargo haulers, even converted civilian spacecraft. Each one carries either nuclear warheads, kinetic impactors, or simple mass drivers. The idea was to overwhelm the Valdari ships with sheer numbers. Instead of trying to match their advanced technology, Earth would use quantity and unpredictability. Like a swarm of hornets attacking a giant, the small human craft would strike from every direction at once. But the real innovation was in how those craft would be deployed. Rather than launching them all from Earth, they had been hidden throughout the solar system over the past 48 hours. Some were positioned in asteroid fields. Others were disguised as space debris. A few were actually strapped to asteroids that could be launched like massive bullets. Commander Jake Phillips was coordinating the space-based operations from Luna Base on the Moon. His team had been working non-stop to position assets throughout the solar system. The Valdari ships might have superior technology, but they could not be everywhere at once. Kate received a communication from Phillips reporting that all space-based units were in position. The aliens expected to find Earth defended by conventional military forces clustered around the planet. Instead, they would find targets scattered across billions of cubic kilometers of space. President Hayes arrived at the command center looking exhausted but determined. He had spent the last 2 days coordinating with world leaders and making sure the evacuation proceeded smoothly. The hardest part had been convincing people to abandon their homes and businesses, but the alternative was worse. Any word from the Valdari, Hayes asked. They transmitted another surrender demand 6 hours ago, Kate replied. Same message as before. Submit or be destroyed. And our response, Hayes asked, though he already knew the answer. The same as before, Kate said. Thanks but no thanks. Hayes managed a slight smile despite the circumstances. He was proud of the choice humanity had made, even though it would probably be their last choice as a free species. Dr. Carter was monitoring the approaching alien fleet when she noticed something interesting. The Valdari ships were following the same approach pattern they had used at other worlds. They were coming directly toward Earth in formation, as if they expected to find targets clustered around the planet. They are not even scanning for hidden assets, Lisa reported. They are so confident in their superiority that they are not taking basic precautions. That overconfidence might be their weakness, Kate realized. They have been doing this for so long that they have become predictable. The final hours before the Valdari arrival were tense but also inspiring. Reports came in from around the world showing human ingenuity at work. Engineers had turned subway systems into command bunkers. Scientists had converted observatory equipment into targeting systems. Even civilian volunteers were helping by providing communication relays and supply networks. What impressed Kate most was how quickly people had adapted to the crisis. Instead of panicking or giving up, humans had thrown themselves into the fight with typical determination. If they were going to lose, at least they would lose on their own terms. The Valdari fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 300 massive ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and took positions in Earth orbit. From the command center, Kate could see them on satellite feeds. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, with crystalline hulls that caught and reflected sunlight. The lead Valdari ship transmitted a final message to Earth. This is your last chance to surrender, it said. Lay down your weapons and prepare for integration into our collective. Continued resistance will result in the complete destruction of your planet. Hayes had prepared his response carefully. He looked directly into the camera that would transmit back to the alien fleet. He thought about all the humans hiding in underground bunkers and scattered across the countryside. He thought about the thousands of small spacecraft positioned throughout the solar system. He thought about the choice humanity had made to fight for freedom rather than accept comfortable slavery. Nuts, Hayes said simply. Was not an eloquent speech, but it perfectly captured the human response to the Valdari ultimatum. Earth would not surrender no matter what the consequences. The alien response was swift and brutal. Energy beams lanced down from orbit, striking the empty cities below. Buildings that had taken decades to construct were vaporized in seconds. The Valdari were demonstrating their power and their willingness to use it. But the cities were empty. The massive destruction was impressive, but it was hitting nothing but concrete and steel. No human lives were lost because there were no humans left to lose. The aliens seemed confused by the lack of reaction to their demonstration. They had expected panic and pleas for mercy. Instead, there was only silence from the apparently empty planet below. Kate gave the order that started the real battle. Execute Operation Hornet, she said quietly. Across the solar system, thousands of small spacecraft came to life. They had been hidden in asteroid fields disguised as debris, or simply drifting in the darkness between planets. Now they began converging on the Valdari fleet from every direction. The aliens detected the incoming ships but did not seem concerned. 300 massive warships against 10,000 tiny craft seemed like an easy victory. The Valdari had overwhelming technological superiority after all, but they had never faced anything like human tactical creativity. The small Earth ships did not attack in neat formations or follow predictable patterns. Instead, they swarmed like angry insects, using the three-dimensional nature of space to attack from above, below, and every side at once. Commander Phillips led the first, waved from his position aboard a converted cargo hauler. His ship was tiny compared to the alien vessels, but it carried a nuclear warhead that could damage even advanced shields if it got close. Enough! Phillips and his team had studied the Valdari ship designs during the 48-hour preparation period. The alien vessels were heavily armored and shielded, but they had been designed to fight other advanced civilizations. They were not optimized for dealing with massive numbers of primitive but determined attackers. The first impacts came as the Valdari were still trying to understand what was happening. Small human ships rammed into alien vessels at high speed. Nuclear warheads detonated against energy shields. Kinetic impactors struck like bullets fired from railguns. Individual attacks did little damage to the massive alien ships, but there were thousands of them happening simultaneously. Even advanced shields could be overwhelmed by sheer volume of fire. Dr. Carter watched the battle unfold from her position in the command center. The Valdari ships were beginning to adapt to the swarm tactics, but they were doing so slowly. They had been caught completely off guard by human unpredictability. The aliens started breaking formation to deal with the attacks coming from all directions. This was exactly what Kate had hoped for. By spreading out to engage the human swarm, the Valdari ships lost their mutual support and became vulnerable to concentrated attacks. But the real surprise was still coming. Hidden in the asteroid belt were several large rocks that had been fitted with engines and guidance systems.